It is officially the best time of the year, and if you don't agree with me, just take a look at this tree. Isn't that just like a really good tree? Doesn't it just like make you feel super cozy? I don't know, it does for me. The trees look like this now, so honestly, automatically, it's the best time of the year. But other than the trees just looking cool, football season's in full effect again. All right, big football guy over here, so that's pretty cool for me. And of course, it's spooky season, so honestly, the vibes are just unmatched right now. And to celebrate all of that, I'm going to be returning to the spooky village I built last year in October, and I'm going to be expanding upon it. I really like how this build turned out. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Let's get started with the episode. I know that last episode I said that I was going to terraform this area around the castle, but it's October, okay? And spooky season takes priority over pretty much everything. So I'm gonna push this project back to the next episode, and let's fully commence into spooky season. Quickly before we get into anything spooky for this episode, I have to welcome 2 new YouTube members. So we have a Darlia H, who is now a barrel, and a Liam001, who is a pumpkin. But if you guys would like to join a Darlia and Liam along with the rest of the people in here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member. You can either go to my channel and click the join button, or you can click the link in the description. And if you become a Shramalam, which is the only tier I have right now, you will get a block named after you in this world. But now let me pass it to myself a couple weeks ago, because I'm actually recording this part at the end of the video, because I forgot to record it before everything else started. I'm just a little bit disorganized sometimes, alright? You know how it goes. Yeah, keep that burping. Sure, dude. And I kind of want to begin this episode by just touching up what we've already done. I was kind of on a time crunch when I made this episode last year. It had been a very long time since I had last uploaded, so I kind of took some shortcuts in this village, I'm not gonna lie. Like a very, very obvious shortcut, the path isn't even kind of done. This path only really stretches down like the main part of the road. It kind of goes off this way. But once again, it kind of goes off to nowhere. There's nothing connecting over in this direction. Like, I should probably have it connect back here again from over there. Like, I feel like that only makes sense. And then also kind of just looking around here for now, I think this place could do with a lot of bone meal. It's very, very bland. And then once I'm finished touching up what we've already done, we can start expanding this village. And I think it would make the most sense to expand in this direction. I could go this way, but there's like kind of a weird hill over here. And without some terraforming, I think it would be kind of strange to build on. Whereas like over here, there's a lot more like flat space around the same level that all these houses are built. And we could even go down this little hill a little bit. There's a lot more room. But before I get too far ahead of myself, let me go back to my storage room, gather up some materials, and we can make the current village we have look a little bit better. I do have to go gather some oak wood though. I thought I'd have some in this chest, but I do not. But I gathered way more spruce wood than I needed last episode, so thankfully we have a ton of that to use for these pathways and just for the rest of the builds in this one. Though I'm probably still going to have to gather some more spruce wood down the line. I'm quite certain that this absolute mess of oak trees was here for the past, like, 500 days. I just kept chopping away at it every so often whenever I needed oak wood, and now I'm finally finished gathering it. This was such a pain to gather. Never plant oak trees like I just did. I feel like at most you should do like a 10 by 10 box. I think I just did like a 3 by like 40 line. That was horrible. I threw all the oak wood in this white shulker box, and here we are back in the spooky village. Let's go ahead and connect together this entire pathway. We now have a completely connected pathway here around at least like the left side of the village from the way I'm facing now. I didn't bother putting a pathway over this way. I actually filled in this area that was dug out just with some more podzol for now. I don't really know what I want to do in this direction. Maybe that can be like the Halloween build for next year. We can expand this way, but for now, I think this pathway is good. I also put a pathway up to each of the doors to the houses. But yeah, now it comes over this way and it wraps around in 2 different directions, which I think is a good start. I'm definitely going to put more pathway out this way, but for now this looks nice. I already started doing this, but next I'm going to bone meal the grass, and I think I'm going to get rid of the flowers. I'm also getting rid of a lot of the tall grass, not all of it though. So let me go around and do this for a bit, and we're going to see what this looks like. I wasn't really able to bone meal everywhere I wanted to because some of these areas have podzol in them instead of grass. I'm still kind of unsure what I want to do with like the rest of the ground. I don't know if I want to replace this all with grass yet, or if I want to keep the podzol. I'll probably be thinking about that throughout this episode, but for all the grass that is here, I was able to bone meal it, obviously, and I think it just adds a little bit more life to this area. Now, I think if I wasn't on a time crunch last episode, this is where I would have left this build. So now that we've kind of caught up to where I wanted to be right now, we can start planning out the expansion. So I think that means we're going to get rid of pretty much all of the spruce trees that are right here. So off I went, tearing down all of the spruce trees that I can see, and I also decided to line the perimeter with spruce wood just so I can better visualize where all these buildings are going to go. And actually, speaking of those buildings, I went through and laid out an outline for all the different buildings and different structures we're going to put in this village expansion. As you can see, we now have the entire layout of the village expansion that's going to be built in this episode. And really quickly, before I gather any materials for this, let me kind of go through my thought process. I'm still going to have to figure out exactly where the path is going to go. I'm sure that's going to take some terraforming at some point, but assuming the path winds through all of these buildings correctly, this building here is going to be like a tavern or like an inn kind of thing. I was thinking about having a church in this area, but I think I'd rather have like a tavern, bar, inn kind of area. I think this will look a lot cooler. Now, all of these smaller rectangular buildings are going to be houses in pretty much the same style as these ones up here. So we're going to keep with the theme that we've already built. So like this is going to be one of the houses. That'll be a house right there that I'm looking at. One right over here as well. There's a couple more of these down here too. So all these little boxes are just going to be pretty small houses in this kind of style. I forgot glass right there. How did I not notice that before? I'll have to try to remember to fix that. We also have like two rounded shapes in here. This one I think is going to be some kind of pond. And then on this other side, I have this really weird like oval shape slanting down the mountain. I want this to be a field of some sort. I don't know if it's going to be like pumpkins or if it'll be something else that fits like the spooky vibe, but all I know is that this is going to be a field. That is the schematic for right now, and I think the next step in this video is for me to gather materials for the houses. I want to get these built up first before we do anything else. That also includes this tavern, so just all the buildings in general. We'll get back to the pond and the field at a later time. Maybe once we're like terraforming the area and working on the path and the custom trees and stuff, we can get back to those two things. But for right now, let me go gather up the materials for all of these buildings. I gathered a bunch of materials for all of these buildings, but of course, I didn't write anything down because why would I make my life easier in the future? I don't know. So there's a good chance that I don't mention a material that I ended up gathering. But you know what? You're just gonna have to trust me that I gathered everything, okay? I promise I did. But we started out here gathering up some dark oak. I made sure to strip it along the way just so I didn't have to do that later. And then after taking a quick stop at my mob farm to refuel my rocket supply, I headed out in search of a mangrove swamp to gather a whole lot of mud. It has been like 1,300 days in this world so far, and I still don't have a good dedicated mangrove swamp that I always come back to. I literally always find a new one whenever I need the blocks in that biome. Next up, I went and gathered the materials needed to make orange and black concrete powder. So that includes some yellow flowers that I can mix with the red flowers I have for my iron farm to make orange dye. I got an entire shulker box of gravel and also an entire shulker box of sand. And luckily, I actually had a bunch of leftover black dye from last episode, so I didn't need to go gather that. Once I had those materials, I was able to make a good chunk of the concrete powder into actual concrete. I finished up gathering the materials by gathering up some deep slate, and now it is finally time I can cut to the time lapse and we can start building. And I completely forgot to record the beginning of the tavern, so that's why this time lapse begins with the tavern already partially built. This is a long time lapse though, so I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, so ignoring the shulker monster right here, all of the houses are built. Not very decorated. I mean, the inside is very bland in all of these, but to be fair, the inside of all of these houses back here is also completely empty. So I don't really know if I'm gonna get to the insides. I might decorate the outsides a little bit more, but we now have this nice line of pretty much identical houses. This one does look a little bit different. I think it's the most different looking house here because it has like 2 exposed sides on the end. This actually might be my overall favorite house build, even though I did miss 2 trapdoors. Let me go actually put those on now, because if I don't, I will 100% forget. And those 2 trapdoors tie everything together. But of course, then we have this tavern, which I was really indecisive on when I was building this thing to begin with. I took it down a couple times. I didn't really know what kind of shape I wanted to go with. I was originally going to go with like a diagonal shape, kind of like the gatehouse over here. But then I just decided to go with just like a basic rectangle. I like how it turned out. I think it looks cool. We have a nice little like roof theme going on here between these 2 buildings. And I think it's a good like centerpiece to this whole area. There was also a house over here, at least the outline of one. But then I decided to get rid of it. I just didn't really think I had enough space. So I'll probably just terraform this area and like bring the rest of this like terrain down and make it look a lot more natural. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll worry about that in a little bit. As for right now, I would like to do this pond and also the field over on this side of the village. And even though I'm probably going to be using a good bit of these materials in this build right now, I like working with like clear shulker boxes and a clear inventory. So let me go organize all the shulker boxes that we just had. My shulker boxes are all cleaned out now, but I should probably do something before I continue. I used another totem when I was building the tavern. That's why I don't have a totem on my offhand right now. I tried to run by a creeper and it blew up directly next to me. So I'm going to borrow this. This is my last totem I have. I don't know if I'm going to get more after this. Maybe I'll get at least 1 more just to restock the church, but I'm kind of tired of using totems, honestly. I might change my mind back on this, I don't really know, but for now, I don't really want to use one after this one. But now let's go ahead and load up these shulker boxes with materials for a pond and a field. Now, I had most of the materials that I wanted already in my storage room, but there were a few more that I had to fly out and get really quickly. One of those materials was sweet berries. I think those are going to fit really nicely in this village. And then the final 2 are just different types of flowers. I decided to get some orange flowers and the most purple flower I could find. I feel like purple is a pretty good spooky color as well, so I think it fits with the vibe. And now that we're back, I would like to introduce you all to a new segment called Building a Pond with Shram. So take it away, me in the future. Probably a post-com, but maybe also not a post-commentary style. Could be live commentary. I haven't really completely decided how I want to do the next part of this video yet. I don't really plan my videos out too well. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. But anyway, I should probably stop talking now. Yeah, let's just cut to the segment. Welcome to the first installment of Building a Pond with Shram. I am your host, Shram, and today we have a special one. I'm gonna build a pond. But yeah, my original vision for this point of the video was for me to go step by step on how to build a pond and kind of make it a joke, but I don't really think that's all that funny anymore, the more I think about it. So I guess I'll kind of just talk about what I'm doing. But I decided to build up the walls around the pond to bring everything to one, solid level. Kind of just works better in my head whenever I'm working on anything like water related and everything's all at the same level. It saves a lot of time. You don't actually have to go through and make every source a water source. I mean, you can if you want to. I'm just kind of lazy. But once I had everything up to the same level, I filled it all in with water and then I got rid of all the dirt I just placed. This was probably also a waste of time, but after that, I decided to replace all of the podzol on the inside with regular grass. I will be changing this out again, and I kind of always knew it wasn't just going to be grass. That's why this is technically a waste of time, but it just helps me whenever I have just like a clean palette to work with. Once all of that grass was put in, it was time to like mossify everything. And by that, I mean I sprinkled around some mossy stone and some actual moss on the bed of the pond. This is definitely my favorite way to decorate ponds, so I figured it would work here. I then moved on to decorating the walls of the pond in a very similar way. I broke in some cobblestone, used some mossy stone, and just kind of made them look a little grimy. And then after that, it was time to rough up the outsides and also add some vegetation. So I went around throwing down some slabs just to try to make it look not as perfect. I threw in some sea pickles on the inside to provide some light. I bone mealed underwater just to give it some more life down there. I also had a bunch of like tropical fish sitting in one of my chests, so I figured this was a good spot to actually release them. And then I added some more vegetation to the outside of the pond, like some sweet berries, some pieces of sugar cane, and I made sure to put string on top of them so they wouldn't grow anymore, and some of those flowers I just gathered. And with that, the pond is finished. I didn't want to go overly complicated with this. I probably could have added a whole lot more vegetation, but I think this looks nice. For the field then, I think I'm actually just going to toss this to a time lapse, because honestly making fields and time lapses is really satisfying to me. So let's go ahead and do that. I hope you guys enjoy time lapses because this episode is very time lapse heavy. After making the field, I decided to go around and terraform the area, and I also threw in the same path design we've already made throughout the new area that we just built today. Once finished with the pathways, I decided to make some retaining walls. I figured this was kind of a nice touch rather than just having everything terraformed naturally. So I used a combination of tough cobblestone and regular stone to make some retaining walls in a few different spots. I also connected up some stone and some stone brick walls at the top of all of the retaining walls, and I think it looks pretty cool. Quick update on the progress of the village. So now we have a connecting path all throughout the new area, and we also have this retaining wall. So I started from the gatehouse, and I'm able to follow this path all the way over to this far house, and then it also branches off in this direction over here, where it takes you back up to this level and back around to, you know, the original part of the village that we built last time. And by last time, I mean a year ago, of course. What I'd like to do next is extend this design here to the rest of the retaining walls. So I built this last year, and I think it looks kind of cool, and I think it's going to be nice to have around all of these different retaining walls. And I do want to start with this section right here, but I should probably clean out my inventory first. And before I actually build anything else that's new, I want to update these a little bit by just adding some oak texturing in here. Very, very simple, but I think it's going to look really nice once we do this to all of the retaining walls around the area. All the retaining walls are now complete, and they're definitely all not like uniform. They're not completely symmetrical, but I think it looks pretty cool this way. So I didn't actually change this section at all right here. I could have pushed it back and made it, you know, like a straight down wall and put some support beams and stuff, but I kind of like what this looks like on its own, especially with a little bit of dirt mixed in here. I just kind of think it looks pretty sick. But anyway, past this, we have a couple like small beams that are kind of supporting something, a little bit taller one here, and then like a medium-sized one here. I kind of had these for like the diagonal sections. I didn't really know what else to do. But for the flat sections, as you can see, we have these archways all over the place, and they extend all the way around. So just a mixture of the regular archways and then like the small beams on the corners. That's kind of just all I did all the way around here. This one's a little bit different as well, a little bit funky, but I think it looks pretty cool. With the retaining walls finished, next up I wanted to build a whole bunch of custom trees, but before I could get to building any of those, I needed to gather some more spruce wood because I was essentially completely out. I have tried to say this sentence way too many times, so I'm gonna take it slow. I gathered a shulker box of spruce wood and also a shulker box of spruce leaves. I don't know why I could not figure out how to say that. It just was not working with me. But after gathering the materials, it was time to build some custom trees. And I gotta be honest, the second one I build here looks like absolute poop. I'm just gonna be completely real. It looks terrible. I think I'm gonna have to come back and fix this one at some point, but it's just not it right now. I think the rest of them look pretty good. We have some medium-sized trees. We also have some trees where I don't actually use any spruce wood. Instead, I use spruce fences. Makes for, you know, a much smaller tree, but I still think it looks pretty nice in this area. And altogether, I think they look good, except for that second one. That was, I don't know what I was thinking. That was just tragic. And I am very, very close to finishing this build. I just have to run around and do a few more small things, like putting some more vegetation all over the place. I need to throw down some lanterns and some regular fences just kind of bordering the path. Honestly, don't know if I have any footage of that, but trust me, I did that because I do that with all of my paths, considering I can't think of anything else to border them. And I also, of course, went around just bone mealing everywhere else. When I can't think of what to put in a plain field of grass, I just use bone meal. It's just very easy. But with all of that being done, let's check out what this area looked like at the beginning of the episode and compare it to now. At the beginning of the video, this area was just a whole bunch of spruce trees and a bunch of weird looking terrain. It really wasn't much to look at, and overall the village in general was just very tiny. But now fast forward approximately 80 Minecraft days, and it looks like this. Looking pretty sick with the shaders on, in my opinion too. I'm actually really proud of how this build turned out. I think I say that every episode. because honestly, every single episode when I'm in the middle of building something, I never imagine it looking good. And then I put those final touches on and I don't know, something just clicks with me and it ends up looking a lot nicer than I was expecting. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry it took me so long to get this one out. A good amount of time went into working on this video with the editing process and then of course with the building in general. But thank you so much for watching one final time. Really hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.